we go. Morning, Jeffrey. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing well. Nice to have you on the show. Welcome to Between Two Yours. Everybody out there, this is Jeffrey Lipton from Maine. Am I right?
You're right. Yeah. I'm up in
What part of Maine?
yeah, I'm in kind of central Maine. I'm in Litchfield, Maine, which is about 40 minutes north of Portland. So
Oh,
just
isn't
inland.
that wild? Isn't that wild how there's like the names of towns are like there's a lot of them. Like
Yeah.
I used to hang out in Litchfield, South Carolina. So that's just the wildest thing.
Yeah, everybody always thinks I'm talking about Litchfield, Connecticut, which I've never been there, but I'm sure it's nice too. I probably have more
Yes.
here than Litchfield, Connecticut then.
So are you guys got a lot of snow up there right now or what?
Looking out my backfield, I still have probably a foot. But that's down a good foot. We've had some warm, rainy days this week, so it's
Yeah, so did we.
yeah,
Our forecast for next week is like 63 degrees on Wednesday.
yeah,
It's a love-hate thing for me. I'd rather just
yeah,
make pots, but
yeah.
gotta go.
Yeah, you have your spring golf life kind of starting back up soon, right?
Yes, sir. And I try every year to find a way to make it less consuming, and I can't. I haven't figured it out. I've been doing it 20 years, and it's just, yeah, somebody always needs an answer, Just leave me alone. Like even playing golf with, I play golf once a week with a couple of my buddies, and I kind of turn my phone off because someone's gonna call me 15 times while I'm trying to play golf. But it's all good. So so what do you do for work besides making pots? Are you a full-time potter?
I am not a full-time potter. Winter I'm kind of a full-time potter, but similar to you, I've got a seasonal gig. I have a small landscape gardening business, so things start
Oh,
ramping
very cool.
here pretty soon. So I'm eyeing this. Once the snow's pretty much gone and we've got some warmer weather, I start to go out and do some pruning, and so kind of I next.
Yeah,
What's
you'll
that?
be super busy, right?
Yes, yeah. Things
Yeah.
get very busy. Yeah, usually. So I do in the first weekend of May in Maine. There's this statewide Maine pottery tour. So I have this big push, kind of winter long push of making work for that and some other shows. And it's actually pretty bad timing just because I have so much stuff in the gardens that start to happen in April. But once that weekend in May happens, then I really have to kind of put a pin in the studio work. Uh, and basically from then until like the 4th of July, I'm pretty straight out with gardening stuff. But then it sort of calms down a little bit so I can get back into the studio and start doing some shows. So,
Yeah, it's tough when it's seasonal to just I feel like just when I'm starting to get a groove, I gotta stop.
yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got a bisque coming out today, matter of fact, and there's a bunch of things in there I got to get done. But at the same time, I have new pieces that I want to get done, but they're going to take a couple of weeks to dry and all that stuff. And it's like, do I fire them? Do I save them? What do I do? I don't even know.
yeah. I'm right
I've
now.
been
I'm gearing up to. I've been building this wood kiln, and so I'm gearing up to fire that for the first time in April. So it's just sort of this big push to make pots and get that fired and see.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah,
I saw that on your Instagram there. It's actually on my list of things to ask. That's gonna be a wood kiln.
it is. Yeah. Wood soda. Working with earthenware these days, and so I'm gonna actually kind of try to stay at that low fire temperature, which I've never done any low fire wood before, so that part will be an adventure.
So you're gonna try to take it to what, cone 6? What are you gonna go to?
No, like my target cone is like 01 probably.
Wow, really low.
Yeah, real low. My I'm using a couple different clay bodies, and I've pushed one of them a little hotter than that with some success, and just I anticipate needing to go very slowly, and the issue is just going to be trying to keep things as even as possible because I just don't have all of those cones and all that time to like be fiddling with stuff. So I
Sure.
think that'll be a
How
challenge.
does how does a low fire bisque like that work for functional wear? Does it stay as strong? What do you go? So your final firing will be 01?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's what I fire right now. Like everything I'm firing in my electric kiln to 01
Yeah.
is the glaze firing. I'm bisquing 05. Yeah.
That's funny. I was always under the impression, in my limited clay knowledge, that you had to go to like cone 5 or cone 6 for functional stuff to keep it strong enough. But apparently, I'm wrong.
Yeah, yeah. So right now, we were talking before we started recording this, but I'm drinking out of this beautiful Darrow Willard mug,
Yep.
and I don't think she's using earthenware anymore. But when she made this, we fired this. This is a low fire soda fired pot that we fired together in like 2008 at the watershed. You know, I've been using it for. You guys can do the math.
Yeah.
The last 17 years. It's working out
Yeah.
pretty well.
Isn't that wild how time flies like that? Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the barn you built too. That is freaking beautiful. Are you in that barn now?
I'm not. No, that barn is over there. I'm in a small barn that was like my studio originally was built as a couple of horse stalls. This was like a dividing wall that I opened up. And so it's just like this little gambrel barn, and so I've got my studio space here, and then my kiln room is in a different room in this barn. Um,
Yeah.
and the
Sweet.
barn, yeah, the barn I built like a year and a half ago or two falls ago is right now it's just completely open, and I've got the wood kiln built on kind of the 2/3 of that space, and 1/3 will get kind of closed in, and just be kind of storage. You know, it's good excuse to be like, I better get a tractor now and put that in there. So
Yeah. I told my wife I wanted a tractor. She goes, "Why?" I go, "So I can dig holes and stuff."
yeah, literally, yeah.
So I saw the way you built that with the joinery and stuff. That's artwork, man. That's really hard work. Have
Yeah.
you always been a builder?
No, I have not been a builder, and so that's the only timber framing project that I've done. And I asked some buddies who are builders if they knew any timber framers who would be willing to let a novice like myself be involved. And a couple guys recommended this guy Travis Chapman, who's a local builder. So he and I talked, and he basically was like, "You're welcome to help as much as you want, just as long as you're not slowing me down." So it's kind of like, we'll just see how it goes. And after the first day, he's like, "This is going to be great." He just kind of like taught me enough to get me started on cutting all the purlins, which there are a lot of purlins in that barn. And so that was like the first 2 weeks. I was just like working on this one thing, and then I'd sort of move on to cutting housings. And he just sort of taught me, gave me a little demo of what I needed to be doing, and then I would just work on it. So it
Quick
was awesome.
on the spot demos, right?
Yeah. It's probably like the most rewarding project I've ever worked on and completed.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, it's a sight to see just in the pictures that I looked at. And I have a friend across the street from the golf course that's building or renovating an old house, and he put a porch on, and he did the same thing. He cut all the joins and everything, and I went over to see it. I said, "Oh my God, that's just amazing!"
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's I was just gonna say that when I was working on that, I wasn't. I did that for like 7 weeks. We just had like the whole back field kind of set up with different cutting stations, and I just have, all of this work that was very repetitive, kind of right in front of me, and while I was doing that, I was kind of thinking about like the parallels to my studio work, and there are parallels of like I'll wedge up 16 balls of clay and just row very methodically, make a board of mugs or bowls, and then the handle process. It's just like start at point A, slowly work your way through, and it's very like it felt like a similar rhythm to a lot of the studio work that I do. So.
Yeah, I would think that in any work you do, you're going to develop a rhythm, or at least anybody that's good at it is going to develop a rhythm, right?
Yeah.
I had Tim Kowalczyk on the other day. Do you know Tim makes the cardboard mugs?
Oh, Yeah, I've seen those. Those are sweet.
And they say fragile on the side. They're really cool. He was a lot of fun, and his studio is set up in stations. So he has 6 different stations for each different stage of what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. We were talking about the Dolan knife. I mentioned this on a lot of my shows. The Dolan 220C knife.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh yeah, I have 6 of those. I have one at every station, so I don't have to go back looking for it."
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I don't have any of those. But I always just have a bunch of these X-Acto knives kicking around because they're easy. You know.
Yeah, I have one of those stuck to. I have a little magnetic tool holder thing right next to my table, so I stick tools on that thing.
Nice.
I noticed you make a lot of like boxes. I love your boxes.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
I actually taught a box workshop online yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Oh, cool. Nice.
This
is that one
of the boxes. That's the one. Well,
nice.
I did 2. So I did like, cooking show style. So it was like, I made this one the day before, left it in the box, made this one up until cutting the lid off, and then was like, and then you do this,
Pull it out of the oven.
It's always so hard to teach something like that. Yeah, by the magic of television, right?
Yeah.
But it's always so hard because you got to say, look, the key to this right now is to walk away from it. Like,
yeah.
Did you never notice that when you like had a home studio that you can just kind of leave for a couple of hours and go do the laundry and come back and the pot's perfect to play with? Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was listening to I was watching one of your other your prior episodes, and it was
Mm-hmm.
I think it was with Meg Yarnell, who I really enjoyed that one. I wasn't familiar with her work, but I've since been following her on Instagram and everything. And I think you guys were talking about that, how it's like, or maybe you were bringing it up, how it's like really easy to just kind of like try to work on something when it just needs to chill out, and you're just gonna mess it up. So it's better to just walk away.
Yes, I knew that. Yeah. I think I started the workshop with that fact yesterday. I said, just if it's feeling wobbly, walk away from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Meg's great, and she's a lot of fun. She's a feisty little ball buster. Her and Tony Young go at it. You know Tony, the guy with the riots. I'm actually going to decorate one of his big ducks. He's going to send me one of those giant ducks.
Sweet.
And I'm going to floralize
Nice.
the crazy flowers that I've been doing. I'll show you what I've been doing here. If you haven't seen it, you might remember. I've talked about this a couple times. Matt Sheeman, right? So I was geeking out on Matt Sheeman's work.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I was like, now I'm going down this rabbit hole. I'm like, thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
but it's fun. And what I'm really playing with is the difference, the contrast of the terra sigillata and the brightness of the underglazes. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. So you're underglazing on top of that sidge?
Yep. I misfired the sidge on there. I put the sidge on when it's bone dry. Yep. And I love your colors, as a matter of fact. And I want to know how you get that orange. Is that a flashing slip?
It's terra sidge with a mason stand.
Is it?
Yep.
Love that. And your blue is the same? That blue is great.
It is, yeah. So like 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I switched from doing high fire salt glazed work, which I had been doing for many years. I switched to low fire electric, and it was just sort of out of necessity. I had been renting the gas salt kiln up at Watershed, which is like half an hour north of me, for years. But then with the pandemic, and they also did that huge studio. They tore down the old studio, but built this like state of the art, absolutely amazing new studio, and I just kind of lost access to the facilities, and so I had to want to keep making pots. So I had an electric kiln, so I just sort of switched everything, and it was a tough transition, pretty tricky to figure out how to go from like this atmospheric world to this very static electric low fire work. So I kind of fumbled my way through that, and didn't like a lot of early results. I was like, low fire. What do people do? They dip it in a shiny glaze. So I was doing that, and I was like, I've never made a shiny pot in my life, and
Yeah. I don't
like,
like it. I don't like shiny either. I like
yeah,
matte.
yeah. I finally kind of figured out the 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 sidge surface, and I used a really thin glaze wash on top of that. So that's kind of the way I'm getting those surfaces.
You say a thin glaze wash?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a Gersley borate and lithium uh wash. Yes, it's just
Okay.
like
Yeah.
it's very thin. Yeah,
Oh, that's very interesting. I had to play with that. Well, it's hard to get Gersley borate these days, isn't it? Or
it is. And actually, I'm switching over to Gillespie. And I actually bought some Gersley off of eBay. Like it was a good price. Um, because my early tests with the Gillespie were different. It was like kind of flatter and a little more muted looking. So I'm not
yeah.
quite ready. I'm not quite happy and or ready to fully switch over. So I think what I've currently got is kind of a mix of both Gillespie and
Yeah.
Gersley.
I'll have to play with that because that sounds cool. Because I love your surface. It's kind of like it's matte, but you can see there's a tiny bit of sheen on it. I kind of love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, you know how it is when you start messing with something. 8 firings later, you're like, oh well, I just wasted 6 months and I don't like
Yeah.
it. Oh well, but that's like I try to teach people that when I teach workshops. I'm like, it's okay, just try stuff. Who cares, right? Just
Yeah.
give it a shot. If you don't like it, don't do it anymore. Right?
Yeah. That's
As a
something
matter,
that's something I was gonna just mention is that like I always kind of have this mentality to just keep exploring, and like my work has evolved a lot over the years, and it's
yeah,
just like
yeah. Let's talk about that.
I just get restless with the pots I'm making, and kind of tired of like drawing the same imagery or whatever it is. So my work, for better or worse, tends to evolve over time. So I do kind of like try to tell or encourage other people to keep exploring and keep figuring.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's always for the better when it evolves. Even if it evolves and comes back around to what you were doing, you're going to be doing it in a slightly different way, maybe a better way. You're going to learn as you go, right? Yeah, you used to paint some more imagery on. You had the dog face mugs; those were cool.
I did. Yep. I had I was calling them my critter mugs, because I was
Critter.
when I first started, they were like more just figments of my imagination. They weren't so specific to being a dog or a fish. And yeah, I just sort of
Yeah,
made up this menagerie of creatures. But it was fun, and
I
I
like
I enjoyed it while I was doing it. But
critter.
then I kind of just was like ready to move on to. I just wanted to kind of simplify the surfaces a little bit more. Um, like I've personally, I've always been much more interested in like making the pot in the pot's form than what is on my pot. Like whatever the surface is sort of secondary to me. Um,
Yeah, wait, say that again because you're kind of cutting out a little bit. I wonder if it's
so
your voice is going. I wonder
uh,
if it's maybe you should turn the volume down on your phone.
I
Are
can
you
give.
on your phone or your laptop?
I'm on my phone. We'll try that. Is that
It's getting a little skippy.
Hmm.
Yeah, that might be better. So say that again. You were talking about trying to simplify the imagery, or
Yeah, I was just saying that my interest has always really been more in like what the pot is, what the form is, rather than like I really love making pots, and the decorating
yeah,
side of things it is just less important to me.
kind
And
of a bonus. Yeah.
yeah, in a way, like I would do shows and I would kind of just watch people, and they would really connect. They would connect with the imagery on a piece, um, and kind of not see what the actual pot was. And um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just like opposite to the way I think about my work, because I'm much more interested in like what is this form, like what does this handle feel like and look like in relation to the mug's body versus like whatever imagery is on there. So that was
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
was
that's
yeah, that was part of like the drive to start doing just this like new color palette of tinted terracotta gelatas, to just sort of simplify the surfaces enough to kind of let the forms hopefully speak and or kind of like carry the voice of my work. So
yeah.
it's working, but
Yeah, it's working. I think a good pot is a good pot is a good pot, right? If you can put a really cool surface decoration also onto a good pot, you win.
yeah, true.
But I think you know what I mean? It's like, can you have both? There's some artists out there that have both. There's some
Absolutely.
artists out there that have really cool decoration on a pot that's kind of meh, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I can think of so many amazing potters who like their surfaces and the decoration, it like it works in harmony with the work, and it is just this like great package. And I just never, not never, but I don't know. It's where I'm at right now. So it's what I'm doing.
Yeah. I can't tell you over the years trying to find my own voice, which I think I'm always going to kind of be searching for. I think people are knowing my work a little bit more now, but
Hmm.
I'm still searching for what I want to identify my pots with, I guess. I think over the years I've made like a good pot. Oh, that's a decent jar. And then you totally screw it up with the decoration. You know what I mean? You pull it out of the kiln and go, oh crap, I like that one.
Hmm.
Smash pile.
Yeah, it it
Um,
happens.
so so speaking of like breathing and moving and doing all this fun stuff, I've been messing with these just like doing strips, right? So this is like
Oh yeah,
so I did different textures on different strips and did the back of this big giant
nice.
platter, Then I did it on a bowl the other day. So what I'm thinking
Cool.
about doing somehow, I don't know if I'm going to do it beforehand or after with slip is like maybe doing terracid different colors on each strip,
Yeah, nice.
which going to be pretty difficult.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna grab a pot because it ties into that.
Yeah, let's do it. So I might actually put some slip on the. See, I tried doing slip on it before I cut the strips, but then as I'm pushing it down, I mess up the slip. So I'm still messing with it. But
Yeah, I've been
show me what you
making.
got.
So I've been making. I fasted a lot of pots. And so I made this run of these mugs, and I was sort of having that thought of like, do I change the color, every other, or candy stripe these, um,
Yeah,
and I just haven't. I mean, I haven't done it before, but I was thinking I'd mess around with that for some of these.
yeah. You got to give it a shot.
Yeah,
And with pots, a lot of times with people, like if I make a pot that I'm not really a big fan of, I'm like, it's kind of meh. I use that as a glaze test.
yeah,
I'm like, I've already lost um, feelings for the
yeah,
pot. Like I don't care how it comes out now.
yeah,
So I'll try something that I've been thinking about on that pot. But
yeah. I
um,
definitely I do a lot of my testing on,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, my mugs are test tiles.
yeah, yeah. A lot of times it's so hard to get enough information from just a little test tile. So,
Yeah, I
and it's,
forget. I forget which it was. He said, "Don't make those little test tiles." He goes, "You can never really tell,
yeah,
uh, especially if you're going to put a liner glaze on, right? Because that's going to bleed through and change the exterior glaze."
yeah.
Speaking of faceting, I did this one the other day, just
Oh, sweet, nice.
kind of chunky. Yeah, I had an extra body sitting around messing with it, but I've been doing these kind of basic, just drawing underneath, just simple.
Yeah,
Simple, functional, a comfortable handle. I'm not looking to sell my mugs for $150 a piece. You know what I mean? I'm not,
yeah,
I want them to be on someone's shelf, in someone's dishwasher for 60, $65,
yep.
I'm
Yeah,
not,
yeah. I hear you. I think we all think about that. It's like we're just potters. We're like we make things, or a lot of us make things because we love to use handmade pottery in our own life, and like
yeah,
a lot of times I can't afford other people's work, and I kind of want like my friends and people I know to be able to maybe afford a little bit of my work. So
Well, the
I don't
town
want
you live in, is that a small town?
it is it's a small pretty rural town. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So same here. I live in Naples, New York, and it's funny. You might have heard me say this on other shows, but I have the old ladies that play in league at the golf course,
Hmm.
and a lot of them will say, "Well, what do you do in the winter?" And I say, "Well, I'm a potter,"
Yeah.
and they go, "Huh?" And
Yeah.
the one lady, this old lady, Pat, she goes, "Ask him how much he charges for a coffee mug." And then I tell them 60, $65, and they all go, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, "It's not that much." I said, there's 4 hours of work in that mug.
Yeah. The amount of
Whatever.
time. Yeah. It's
Um,
true.
but it's funny. All towns are great. As a matter of fact, when I was waiting for you to get on, I got a message from a lady. She wants golf donations for the Trout Derby. The Trout Derby is April 1st every year. So
Nice.
we got a creek that runs right through town, and it's wild. The creek is probably maybe 7 or 8 inches deep, maybe a foot in certain spots, and
Yeah.
these guys are pulling trout out that are 24 inches long.
Wow. That's
You
cool.
caught that creek?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. Tell me how you make your sig. What clay do you use?
I use OM4 primarily.
Yep.
It's a nice white base, takes colorants well. And then sometimes I'll add in some red art. I've got like a yellow, kind of a ochery yellow version of my Sige, which is, there are no stains in it. It's just OM4 with some red art.
Yeah.
So kind of mess
Is
around
there
with.
orange red art also?
The orange is a mason stain. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
I,
the
I started
tangerine.
using red art. I started using red art a couple of years ago when I heard Matt Katz talking about why he couldn't get a black Terra Sige. He said it was driving him crazy until he realized he was using a white ball clay,
Yeah.
and he kept getting gray.
Yeah.
He's like, I couldn't get black.
Hmm.
So that's what I use for black.
Yeah. Yeah, I've tried.
Yeah,
I've tried a bunch of different Hawthorne and XX Sagger, and I've tried a bunch of those. And actually, in the wood kiln, I'd like to mess around with some of that stuff again.
Yeah, I use Sagger. I started with OM4. I messed with EPK for a little bit, and I found for me, maybe it was the application, but with the redness in this clay, I felt like it would bleed through a lot, and it would kind of mute out my colors.
Yep.
So the Sagger, I feel like, makes my sigillata a little bit thicker, and I even will put a little scoop of Zerca packs in there to kind of whiten it up a little bit. But
Yeah.
so far so good.
I actually layer. I actually put a white slip on some. Use a dark brown earthenware, and I actually am dipping white slip and then putting Sige on top of that. But maybe I could be saving myself a whole step if I just explored other clays to have as my base for my Sige.
Yeah, well, what I was doing for a while, and I still do this sometimes, is I'll just put a layer of white on first, and I call it like a primer. It's just kind of like it makes the colors a little bit better on the outside.
Do a little gesso on there.
Yeah, a little Mod Podge. So Watershed, you said they built a new place, a new studio up there. I've been trying to get there for a while. I'd love to go there, but they don't do any winter things. Am I right?
They just started doing winter things again this year.
Okay.
So I was there spring of 2008 to spring of 2009, and I was actually part of the last batch of winter residents, because they had been doing winter residencies since I think the beginning of what Watershed is, and then they kind of put that on pause until this past year. So it's a little different format, but they do.
Yeah.
The studio is it's beautiful, and you should definitely try to make it up there sometime.
Yeah, I'll try to reach out again. It's one thing we were talking, you and I both have kind of the same schedules. And, most of my time is available in the winter. And there's a lot of places that don't really do winter residencies. And it's that's like the time I have. But
you should look into it. I think they they have like different length residencies. I think it's more flexible than it used to be. Like
Yeah, okay.
the old winter residency was like an 8 or 9 months long residency, but now I think
Yeah.
that they do like 6 week and 8 week residencies.
See, I would love to do that, but my wife would be like, just stay there. Take your time. I would love to do a year residency somewhere. I mean, I'm 54. My kids are teenagers now. I might actually pretty soon. But,
Yeah,
I saw the who was it? It was Josh Kopis
yeah,
and Billy Ritter just did something at someplace in Ohio. And it was like, I would love to be able to be dropped off at this studio with they had an indoor wood kiln,
yeah.
which looked really a huge warehouse. And here's 3 pallets of clay,
Mm-hmm.
make some cool stuff. See you in 3 months.
Yeah,
Like, okay, let's go. I would love that.
same. That'd be fun.
Yeah, just I mean, I don't know. I've seen you make some pots, torso size. I call it my ADHD line. Like I get about 17, 18 inches. I'm like, all right, I'm bored of making this pot right now. I got to do something else.
Yeah.
Do I want to make 3 foot, 4 foot tall pots? Sure, but I feel like it's just a waste of clay a lot of times.
Yeah, my comfort zone is definitely not in larger work, but it's like slowly I try to make, I try to make some larger work, and it I'll sell the work, and like that's obviously a good thing. But also if I'm just doing shows, like it just helps the balance of what all of my work looks like.
Sure, yeah, when it's put all together.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
breaks up everything.
I have a couple of tables full of pots behind the computer here because I'm saving them up for. I got invited to the Flower City Pottery Invitational in Rochester next year, so
Sweet.
pretty stoked about that. Yeah, I'm excited about that. There's been some good potters in that.
Yeah, nice.
It's like an honor because I used to go back. I used to go to that and be like, "Oh my god, you people are awesome."
Yeah, that's
It's
cool.
kind of cool.
When is that?
Yeah, it's next October. So the issue there is I have to be done by the first week of April because I start work and I can't make pots. I'm actually teaching a workshop in Wilmington, North Carolina, the first weekend of April. So I'm excited about that.
Nice.
I love in-person workshops. They're just fun. I like interacting with people. Hence the podcast, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, it's fun. I taught a couple of workshops last fall, which are really kind of the first workshops that I've gone to teach at. And I just had a great time. It was like super fun just being at, I was up at Haystack, and I was down at Snow Farm in Western Mass, and just beautiful location, and all you have to do is kind of show up and make pots and teach people and hang out.
Yeah. I taught one at Aramont last year, and it's like you have a room, you have food, and you have a studio. So all you have to do is eat and make stuff, and then eat and make stuff. I said, this is great.
Yeah.
I could get used to this.
Yeah.
So you got a treadle wheel there. Is that a leach wheel?
It is. Yeah. I was looking for a treadle wheel for, probably 10 years. I set up a Craigslist alert for any treadle wheels, and one day I got blown up in my email. It was like, there's a treadle wheel in Southern Maine. I was able to kind of work out a deal, half money, half barter. So I gave these guys a bunch of pots and walked away with this beautiful old Woodley treadle wheel. So
yeah, that's a beauty. I had Wes Brown on here a few weeks ago. Wes makes those big crazy black teapots.
Yeah.
And him and I were talking about how we both kind of learned by watching Simon Leach on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he had that wheel. I said, man, I got to get one of those one day. I love that the clickety clackety sound and how smooth it goes, and it makes you slow down.
Yeah, I especially love trimming on this wheel. It's just you're just so connected to it in a different way than stepping on a pedal.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I moved my pedal up to the top this year. I'm finally standing and just throwing. I do it with my hand.
Yeah. I have an electric wheel in my studio, and I do use that a lot. And I'm the same way, standing, and I've got my pedal. I've got my pedal right there. So
I'm not getting any younger, Jeffrey.
I hear you.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God. I had to carry, so I'm bringing clay with me to this workshop because I want to know how it's going to come out. You know, I don't want to get there and teach a workshop and go, well, this works at my house. Like,
Right.
so I'm bringing clay, but I went and got 8 boxes. I had to like go load it in the car, bring it out of the car so it doesn't freeze. I can load it again. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm not young anymore. But I stopped trimming a couple years ago. I make these butts now. Have you seen these bases? These old
Yeah.
pookies?
Yep.
Yeah. They're just fun. So this base just comes out just like that.
Nice.
So it's just done, you know,
Yeah.
easy peasy.
That's sweet. Good system.
Although trimming is kind of fun.
I like trimming. Yeah. It's oftentimes kind of something that I'll make pots and just plan on like first thing in the morning, just sit down to like a bunch of pots to trim. You know, I'm staring out a window to like the backfield and the woods, and it's just like it's just a pretty meditative kind of thing to work on.
Yeah, very cool. Do you just wet your rim and stick it? That's the way I always. I just kind of wet it with my finger and stuck it to the middle.
No, I've got here. I'm gonna hopefully I don't make people too dizzy. I just have this like clay donut. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah, yep.
So I just kind of make that and use that because it just sort of fits right.
That's a nice, easy, smart way to do that. What's your puppy's name? What's the dog's name?
Oh, I've got 2 dogs. My old dog, he's a little over 13. His name's Waldo, and then I've got a 2-year-old corgi named Fanny.
What's his name?
Her name is Fanny.
Fanny. She is cute. I have 2 dogs and 2 cats as well. I'm surprised we don't hear her working right now, but she's a corgi, huh?
Yeah, she's the Cardigan Welsh corgi. She's the riot.
That's very cool. That's the short legs, right?
Yes, the very short legs. She was struggling with all the snow we had, so
I bet.
you know, I had to make her pads all over the place so she could just like actually go out and burn off a little energy.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like one of those mouse mazes out of snow.
Yep.
Put a dog biscuit at the end.
Mm-hmm.
What was I going to say? I have one cat that weighs 19.8 pounds. He is a big dude.
That's a lot of cat.
He is a lot of cat. I mean, you pick him up and you're like, oh my God, dude, you're just like holding a bag of cement. You know?
Yeah. I like cats. We don't have any cats, but I do like them. I think it's a litter box thing. I don't like I don't like dealing with litter boxes, but maybe I'll have to get over that at some point.
I cleaned it out yesterday, and I told my wife, I said, we are bad pet owners.
Yeah.
Because the cat's like, really? Can you, like, help me out here? Like,
yeah.
You know, sorry, dude, I'm busy. So I noticed you make a lot of teapots. I love making teapots.
Yeah. Yeah, they're always a good challenge. Yeah, they're you know, they're a very involved pot with, like, a lot of considerations to make, and yeah, I definitely, you know, I enjoy kind of like making boxes. Like I enjoy kind of some fussy work, like mixed in. So yeah, I definitely enjoy teapots. Yeah, I've got a friend who's a metal worker who lives nearby, and I don't know if you've seen any of these, but I've been collaborating with her on some of those, and that's been super fun.
Yeah. Matter of fact, that just reminded me, this weekend, my wife, she's an artist as well, and she's running a thing in downtown called Women's Weekend. And there's the lady, she's doing welding classes, Stacy Merva. So yeah, I have to get with her about maybe doing some handles. That's a fun idea.
Yeah.
I love your spouts. I usually hand build spouts with one of these little spout sticks.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah. I usually hand build onto that and then kind of force it to the way I want. But your spouts are fantastic.
Yeah, I usually throw them. Occasionally I'll hand build them. But I don't have anything like that, so I'm just sort of free forming. Usually I'll kind of make a little template, just so it's symmetrical, and then I'll roll that, piece it together.
Notice you got a nice little bend in your spouts. So it's hard to get that good bend, isn't it?
It is. sometimes I cheat and I'll cut a little dart on the bottom.
Yeah. Just, yeah.
So
Yeah, it's so fun. And then, it's like, okay, I cut the dart in there, but then I'm going to get those little like cheek smiles where where you
yeah,
screw it together. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
I got this one too. Here, want a long spout. Look at
Oh,
this
yeah.
thing.
Nice.
I mean, you just put a slab around it and then just take a rib, and then you got, this thing's 14 inches long.
Yeah.
I should do that on every pot. I have, let's see, up there on the shelf, 2, 4, 6. I have probably 12 teapots that don't pour well.
Oh, they chug or just dribble.
Chug or dribble or one or the other. I go for form, and I just kind of make what I see in my eye.
Yeah.
And they all look cool, but you go, oh, that's useless.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Ugh.
so you can learn from all those, figure out what's not working. And
Yeah, absolutely. This one here was in. This one actually works well. This one was in. This was the Ceramics Monthly article was this teapot.
oh, nice. Yeah. Sweet.
It's just pair of SIDS, laid back teapot, easy peasy. This one actually works.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is that one of the good ones?
Yeah, this one actually pours well. Look at this. It's been on there for a couple of years, getting dusty. I've seen people take and put like olive oil on the bottom of the lip, so it cuts off better.
Cool.
That's kind of cheating.
If it works, yeah.
Yeah, whatever, man. Have you messed with liquid quartz yet?
I haven't. No. I think I've seen you talk about it, and maybe a couple other people kind of mention it. I've thought, I've definitely thought about picking some of that up to just kind of mess around with it.
On a Terra Sig exterior, without like glazing something like this,
Yeah.
I can seal it with that, and it's completely sealed and stain proof, which is the important part for me.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, it's fun to mess with. So when did you first start messing with clay? Did you have a high school class, or where'd you go to school?
I did, I took a ton of art classes in high school, and I did a tiny bit of clay work, but I don't think any of my teachers really had clay experience, so I was just kind of goofing off. So I was in college. I went to the University of Southern Maine in Portland and neighboring town of Gorham. And I think I wanted to take a ceramics class my first year, but I had to do some prereq, drawing and other classes. So it was my sophomore year. Yeah, my sophomore year, I started taking ceramics, and just sort of never looked back. Like it was what sucked me in more than anything else.
Yeah, it just clicked, right?
Yeah.
There's something great about it. I don't know if I know what it is yet, but it's I can get lost in the studio. I mean, and I was telling someone this the other day. That's kind of how I know I love it. It's because I can come down here with a cup of coffee at 8 in the morning, and I don't know what time it is, and all of a sudden it's dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started, just learning to throw is like, it's very challenging. It didn't come to me super naturally. And I just remember going in on weekends, and I'd be the only person in the studio, and I'd just be working through so much clay, just trying to make pots. And I just felt like this real drive I got to figure this out,
Yeah, I do. I know that feeling.
Yeah. So
It's this thing.
Yeah, honestly, like I didn't really learn how to make functional work in college. And so I ended up, I apprenticed with Mark Shapiro for 3 years in Western Mass.
Oh, very cool.
And that's where when I started there, I was kind of like, I'm going to just forget everything I thought I knew. He had a treadle, he has a bunch of treadle wheels. So I started making pots on a treadle wheel. And yeah, that's basically, I just sort of learned how to make functional work in that studio. So
yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The drive to figure out throwing was the same for me. Like, it was such a challenge.
Yeah.
And it's the only other feeling I found with that is honestly playing golf.
Yeah.
Golf is just, you just don't get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, not many people just get it. Some people
Right.
may, but it's pretty freaking rare. So I feel like that goes the same with the wheel.
Yeah.
It just takes time. And and you've seen enough people throw. You watch somebody throw that's got it, and you go, "Oh yeah, yep, that guy's done that before." Right? It's pretty evident.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm teaching in this community studio down in Portland now, and it is pretty interesting. Most of my students are beginners, and like one out of 10, 1 out of 15 or 20, like just has this like natural ability, and I think they must have other pursuits in their life where they like have dexterity. They've like
Yeah,
just used muscles in certain ways that it it applies to throwing somehow. Um,
yeah, yeah. I'd love to know. Ask them. Say, what else do you do for a living? Because
yeah,
you kind
yeah,
of got. I remember the first time I threw a pot, I was working at a coffee shop, and downstairs in the coffee shop they had a community studio, and we had a slow moment. So I went down there and I was talking to this lady, and she was teaching the class, and I said, "Can I try that? Because that looks like fun."
mhm,
She said, "Yeah, sure." So she centered a piece and said, "Go ahead." And I sat down and threw a bowl. And she said, "You've never done that before?" I was like, "No." And she's like, "Yeah, you should do that some more." Because
yeah,
I just like you said, some people just have it, but it was that instant addiction to like, I want to do that again.
yeah, yeah.
You know. Um. So tell me, are you married? You got kids or just dogs or?
Married, no kids, 2 dogs, 4 chickens, and a couple beehives.
Couple beehives, yeah. So I wrote that down here too. You're a busy guy. I mean, do you have like a farm up there? You just kind of
Nah, I mean,
yeah,
we have our little like they're just little hobbies, Like we've got a
yeah,
good sized vegetable garden, and I've I've
yeah,
I've planted an orchard, so I've got a bunch of apple trees and peach tree out back. So
yeah.
there's things that I like to have as incorporated in my life. You know.
Yeah. We got rid of our chickens a couple of years ago. One of them got eaten by a red-tailed hawk in my neighbor's yard.
Yeah.
Just boom. My neighbor came down and he's like, "I was gonna come over to tell you to see it, but a fox ate the other half."
Oof.
Just in the yard. And then come winter, I felt so bad for those chickens up in their coop in the back, and I
Yeah.
ran an extension cord up and put a heat lamp in there, and the water would freeze. And I was like, "These poor things,
Yeah.
we got to let them go."
Yeah, our chickens are outside roaming around today, so they enjoy that. I built a little winterized chicken coop for them the first winter we had them, and we plug in their water. Their water has like a little heater in the bottom of. But yeah, I mean it's not that exciting for them during the winter. We throw like a bunch of mealworms down in their shavings, so they have like a project to work on. But
Yeah, 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 yeah. I used to use a fish tank heater in my throwing water back in the day when my
oh yeah,
studio was so cold. Oh, I'm like, this is dangerous.
yeah.
It was plugged in and then in the water.
My buddy Eric Smith down in Massachusetts, he always did that too, and I've thought about it. I don't have running water out in my studio, so I'm just
Uh-huh.
carrying water out, from the house, and usually I'll just bring a jug of hot water out, kind of switch out my throwing water, but I don't always do that.
I have an electric tea kettle now.
Yep.
It was like $30 on Amazon, and
Yeah.
just boop, it makes really hot water. Matter of fact, one of these days I'll have to show you my sink actually, because so my sink is right here in the corner,
Yep.
right there somewhere, right?
Yep.
That was in my studio, which was up in a little cabin in my backyard, and I think it's the same up in Maine where you are. But if you're going to run a water line, you got to be below frost, which is like 4 feet,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
3.5 feet. I was like, well, two things. One, I'm not digging that myself, and I'm probably not going to pay anybody to dig that either. So,
Yeah.
so I bought a utility sink at Home Depot for
Hmm.
$30 or $40, and then I got one of these big giant those sweater plastic things, like the storage bin.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Walmart, I'm talking about they're 50 gallons.
Yeah.
It's like this big. It's a big 50-gallon drum that it holds like clothes, and you put it, you know, they're stackable.
Yeah.
I got that, and I built this little sink thing around it, and then I cut a hole. I cut a hole in the side because it sticks out a little bit, and I put a garden fountain pump in there,
Nice.
and the hose comes out, and that's my spigot for my sink.
Yeah.
And you know, you 50 gallons of water in it, and it's constantly recirculating. I'm not drinking it. And I'm not really cleaning my tools and my wheel and stuff in it.
Yeah.
But I'll clean my brushes and stuff.
Yeah.
So it lasts the season, and then I take it out in the yard, spray it out, clean it, and start fresh every October.
Sweet. Pretty
Yeah.
good setup. Nice.
I wouldn't drink it. The cats drink it. I'm like, you guys really shouldn't be drinking that.
Ah.
Also, right underneath the drain, I put a 5-gallon bucket in there, and I filled the bucket with gravel. It's 3/4, so the drain goes directly into the gravel. And most of the clay will get caught up in that. And then I drilled a bunch of holes in the 5-gallon bucket so it'll kind of seep and pour out slowly.
Nice.
But yeah, if you're looking for a recirculating sink, because I think is it like Bailey or something makes one, but it's like $3,500.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was $200 at the most.
Yeah. Speaking of crazy expensive things, I have this ball mill that a friend of mine gave me, and it came with like this little tiny jar, for ball milling, and I'm like, it's way too small. I want to get a bigger size one, and I couldn't find one used, and Shippo's brand new ones, the size I wanted was $900, and I was like, I'm definitely not going to do that. But on eBay, I found some company in I don't remember where they were, but it's like this heavy duty plastic, and it was like $75, and it's like this huge one. So I haven't used it yet, but I think it's going to work just fine.
Yeah. Yeesh, $900, man. Stuff is getting crazy busy. I thought I was going to say it's a good time for you to have chickens. The cost of eggs is crazy these days. But
that's true.
Yeah. So tell us, do you have a collection of pots like everybody else? Do you have like a mug wall in the house or something?
Yeah. We've got mugs all over the place. We've got everything in the kitchen, and then we've got like in the dining room, kind of like a built-in shelving there. So that's just like shelves of different things, and then I've got a couple like these very beautiful handmade wooden shelves that I traded a rusty old pickup truck with this like very cool eccentric woodworker artist in Massachusetts. I traded it for him, and he made me these wooden shelves. So I've got one of those, and that's just got like the Hall of Fame of the pots, kind of on there. So yeah, I mean,
yeah. Who's on the Hall of Fame?
Who's in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, who's on the Hall of Fame shelf?
I mean, mainly like all my friends, Michael McCarthy, there are a bunch of Adara Willard, Sam Taylor, Mark Shapiro. I think I have a Josh Kopis on there. Just like I've got this really nice Hayne Bayless one that's got got some nice bling on there. It's got these gold squares around it. It's pretty fun.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, who are you geeking out to as a potter? Who do you look and go, God, that guy makes good pots?
I mean, probably the biggest one I'd say is Michael Simon. His pots, and like going back to like our first conversation about like surface decoration and design, and like the harmony that he had with his work and surface decorations was just really beautiful.
I was telling you I had Hawk and Lindsay on the other day from Brooklyn, and it's funny. We were talking about the 6 degrees of separation of Michael Simon. He's like he is somehow involved in every aspect of ceramics. You can go back, and it was like Michael Simon did this. You know what I mean? So that's pretty funny. You say his name. I just talked about him 2 days ago.
Yeah. He's not a lot of separation. So, like Mark Shapiro, who I worked with, he and Sam Taylor and Michael Klein, they all were down at Penland in, I don't remember, 86 or 87 or something. And Michael Simon was teaching down there. So that was like very early in all of their careers. So in some way, it's like a little bit of a lineage, kind of from him, but then
it's like a family tree of ceramics. Just this or like this guy begat this, and he begat, and then this guy understudied with him, who understudied with him, and then he taught him, and it's kind of fun actually the way the ceramics world is connected.
Oh yeah,
everyone kind of knows everyone, which is kind of fun. I just love potters. I think potters are a certain type of people. I think they're just fun.
I agree.
You see that snippet with Tim Kowalczyk when he said, "I'm going to go out and say that hand builders are way superior to wheel throwers"?
No, I did not see that.
You haven't seen it? Oh my God, we started a revolution.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, it's basically.
Yeah.
He said next year we're going to meet in the main hall of Ensika with like wheel throwers on one side and hand builders on the other, and we're going to do like the Sharks and the Jets. We're going to have a dance off.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, and then he was like, he made a picture of like these. It was like West Side Story, but he fabricated on his computer. And he put a wheel in the middle and a slab roller on the other side, and then he's like, and in the back, standing there by themselves, are the slipcasters.
Yeah, right.
Standing there alone.
That is hilarious.
Which slipcasting is cool. I just don't have the skill to do it. Cool.
Yeah. I don't do a lot of hand building, but I actually kind of enjoy it. Both those workshops I taught last fall, I had some students who they don't throw, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna hand build some of these boxes, and like some of them were pretty sweet, and like definitely I wouldn't have made those forms had I been throwing them.
I do like that one box you have with the kind of angular chopped lid. That's a really cool lid.
Yeah.
Slab built.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one's probably I think that one's thrown, and then the top is just like kind of cut with and pieced together with slabs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really cool pot.
Yeah,
I meant to ask you. We skipped over what is that tool you're using to facet with?
Oh, that is just a big old knife. I can go grab that. It's right over there.
Is that like the one you do the what you call it there?
It's just the old like carbon steel knife.
Cool. Yeah. Yep.
I picked it up. There's this great place called Liberty Tools up in Liberty, Maine, filled with old tools, and you just can lose a couple hours in there. And found this for like $4, like 50 years ago.
Yeah, you get so much out of it, right? I bought one of these little silly cheese cutters.
Oh yeah.
So this way I can just kind of.
Yeah, I haven't really tried one of those.
Super easy, and it's got two thicknesses. Like, I think it's one's like this one's a little thicker and this one's a little thinner because I've cut through so many pots, but it's really easy for just to go like this and just go zip, 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 zip.
Yeah.
I go in like in waves of faceting because I love faceting and I love how it looks, and then I'll facet everything and then get away from it, and then facet everything, and it's kind of like the tide of facet keeps coming back at me.
I started doing a lot more faceting when I switched to the low fire electric. I had been making these faceted whiskey cups for a long time. But in my search for like surface depth in this like new electric world, I started realizing like if I faceted, and then for a while I was doing a black slip and a white slip on top of that, and it was just like breaking enough on the ridges of the facets that it was getting some variation on the surfaces that so and it just sort of took over. I'm trying to find ways to get away from it a little bit again. So
it's interesting you say. I like what you said there. Actually, the surface depth in an electric fired world. It's kind of hard to get. You know what I have actually over here is actually, believe it or not, it's a Sheena Cone 5.6 Sheena from Amico.
Yeah,
I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
You get some carbon trapping in there. Make
Yeah,
Malcolm
right.
Davis proud.
You know what I noticed, actually, which is weird. You might have a better answer than me. I have salt and pepper shakers here somewhere. I don't know where the hell I put them. And I've been getting this, like, it looks like flashing. Like somebody asked me, how'd you fire that? I said, oh, that's electric. But maybe it's just because it's where it's thin. I don't know, but it looks really cool. It's kind of hard to tell what it's doing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll send you a picture later.
Yeah.
What else was I going to touch on? Shoot. Yeah. So surface depth. Like I've always loved, like, I got to have something going on the pot for me.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's a really good, like yours is like, I love your singular color pots, but it seems like there's still enough movement on that surface. Maybe it's from the Gillespie wash. It's like, it really works.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like when I open up that kiln lid, I actually am like surprised. Like I'll pull it out and be like, oh, like great. This isn't exactly, I didn't know what it was going to look like. Having that little bit of mystery in the electric kiln has been a good thing, because that's I always had that in the atmospheric world.
Yeah, absolutely. And in atmospheric, you got to wait 4 extra days to open the door.
There's that too. Yeah,
I can't do that.
Yeah, too antsy. Yeah,
it's so hard. No. Yeah, that's interesting. What was I going to say? With the Terra Sig, I mean, I switched to Terra Sig because I feel like I know what's coming out of the kiln now. Like it's pretty much done when I put it in. You know what I mean? I feel more in control that way. But I try to get a little bit more surface movement with this the rasp, the shore form. Because then it's all sorts of different movement. And it makes the white kind of break on itself, and you get it's like mini facets if you think about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't just do a flat surface. I don't know why. Bugs me.
Yeah. I hear you. There's like like that rope decoration where you're just like rolling rope onto a relative clay. And that can be so subtle, but like so beautiful and adds so much to. I don't do it on very much of my work, but just something like that, or the sure form can be super nice.
What's that lady's name? Hirschberger, Jill Hirschberger, I think her name is. She's out of Ithaca, New York. She does the rope. Yeah, I think she teaches Syracuse, maybe.
Nice.
Yeah. So have you been to Aramont yet?
I haven't. No. But I'd like to.
Spot. Yeah. I was texting with the director the other day trying to get her on the show. Lindsay Rogers, you know Lindsay?
I know her work. Yeah, I don't know her personally.
Yeah, I got one of her plates. Speaking of superstars,
nice.
That's one of Lindsay's.
Yeah,
isn't that cool?
Her work is beautiful.
Oh yeah, her and I went to Pentaculum together for like 7 days, and I watched her make like 30 of these in a row, and I was like, wow.
Wow.
That's really cool. And then we did like a raffle. Everyone put a piece in. And it was a table full of stuff. And this was the only thing I wanted on this whole table. And my number got chosen first. So I was like, plate.
Nice.
Meant to be. Yeah. I think I might go back there next year, hopefully teach again. I was there in November, taught a workshop down there. What was really cool is the director called me up and she said, you're a golf pro. And I said, yeah. And she said, you want to come down early and play in our golf tournament, our fundraiser? I said, yep.
Cool.
So I was down there for like 2 weeks. It was great.
Wow. What does it mean? What does it mean to be a golf pro?
So
there's just really good at golf.
That's about it. Yeah. There's two ways. There's a pro golfer and there's a golf pro. I think people get a little confused about that. I'm the guy that teaches lessons and runs the golf course.
Gotcha.
So I teach people how to play golf. I play a lot of tournaments myself. I usually play the state amateur, the mid amateur. I'm 54. I have 1 more year to play the seniors, and I can't wait.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Watch out, seniors.
Yeah, you got to beat up on the old guys.
Yeah.
Some of those old guys are pretty darn good, I'll tell you what. But I run a small business. It's basically just a retail shop, so
Cool.
folding shirts,
Nice.
dealing with crazy people. It's funny, like, um, going to work for the summer ruins my faith in humanity, and then coming back in the winter and talking to potters brings me back around to earth. So you're keeping me sane today, Jeff. Thank you, man.
Happy to be here doing it. Yep. Likewise, it's this studio work is pretty solitary. So like finding ways to connect with people for a conversation is always good for my mental health. So
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, the older I get, the more I like being in the studio by myself.
yeah.
I was telling my wife the other day, or I was telling a kid who works for me, I said, you know what, the older I get, the less I do what I don't want to do. People say, you want to go do this? Nope.
Yeah.
I'm over 50. I don't have to.
Yeah.
I don't know when this happened. I was such a sociable, fun person as a kid. I think what I did was I used all that energy before I was 30. And now I'm like,
Sounds like you just smartened up a little.
Yeah. Oh, before we go, I want to ask you quick about how you do that squared foot. I love that little move you do when you're trimming. Kind of like, that's tricky.
Yeah. Let me grab.
You have one of those?
Yeah, I've got one of those right here.
Yeah, that's it. I love that foot.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I am able. I do that on the treadle wheel. So I'm just moving super slow, and so I'm kind of just carving instead of just letting the wheel. Instead of just keeping my trimming tool stationary. I'm just.
There you go.
Yeah. Sorry, my low battery signal. I'm just kind of like pulling instead of just holding that trimming tool stationary. I just slowly kind of in carving out that foot. So
yeah, I think you had a video on your Instagram of doing that.
Yeah. It's super fun. And that's I don't know that I'd be able to do that on the electric wheel, or at least not as easily.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's easy in any way.
Yeah.
I would probably draw that and hand carve it. But that I watched you do that move. Like it's like a trim and then a yank and then a trim and a yank. And wow, that's nifty, man. That's a nice move.
Yeah, just took a little time to, I guess, get good at it. I think I kind of remember when I first started doing that, and it was like hard to be consistent with it. I'd like go too far, or I'd pull through one side, or something weird would happen.
That's another reason I quit trimming through a pot, or making the bottom too thin, or you're trimming and it's too wet and everything's sticking to it, or it gets caught on the tool and flies across the room.
Yeah, like, that'll happen to the best of us. Yeah,
it's like that's it. I'm done. Yeah. But all right, man, we're at 1 hour and 15 minutes already. Look at that, time flies.
Nice.
So let's close with a couple of things. Tell us where we can find your work. Where do you sell your work? Is it on your website? Are you in some galleries?
Bunch of questions. Yeah, you can. I do have work on my website, although I'm not great at keeping that up to date. So I'll just put that up. Yeah. And so I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, and yeah, this year I've got work in Maine. We have the Maine Crafts Association, which is a great organization. They run all sorts of different programming, but they do have they have a retail shop, so I've got work with them. And other than that, I just do like some regional shows and a couple pottery tours. So I mentioned I've got the Maine pottery tour coming up, and then I'll be a guest down with Michael McCarthy for the Hilltone 6 pottery tour at the end of July, which is in Western Mass.
Okay, very cool. Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think many potters are good at updating their websites.
Yeah.
It's just tough. It's a whole nother job that I don't want to do. Like I gotta measure. You know what I did actually last time I did a mug sale. I took a picture of each mug, and it was mug 1, mug 2, mug 3, and I put a piece of tape on the bottom of which number it was.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, that's it. If you like it, you like it. If not, that's fine. I'm not going to measure it. I'm not going to tell you how big it is. I don't have to describe how I made each one. This one was,
Yeah.
ugh.
This one's 7.5 ounces. This one's 8.2.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So final tip. Let's see, your one good tip. What do you got? I'm sure you have a lot.
Yeah, my one good tip. This is my one good tip. I think it's something that I'm trying to do more. I'm trying to listen to this piece of advice for my own self more, which is to actually kind of counter to what you were just talking about. I'm trying to say yes to opportunities more. And like, if it feels like it's a scary thing to do, it means I should probably do it. And don't let, this is sort of like a mental health PSA for all of you folks. Like, don't let your anxieties get in the way of like cool opportunities, because all the cool opportunities, like, they just lead to something else pretty sweet too. I guess,
say yes more often.
Say yes more often. Yeah.
There.
What's that?
Didn't Jim Carrey do a movie about that?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not a big Jim Carrey buff, but
it was Liar Liar or something. Yeah. It's funny. Because I was talking to Hawk and Lindsay about that the other day. You're right. A lot of really good stuff comes out of an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah.
Right. The growth, self-growth, everything.
Yeah.
I was a martial arts guy my whole life, and I remember going to take a test, and I said to my sensei, I said, man, I don't understand this. I'm nervous. Like, I've been doing this since I was a kid. And she said, I'm glad you're nervous. I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, if you weren't, it would mean you didn't care. Right? So the fact that you're nervous is good. Yeah. So, yeah. Say yes more.
Say yes.
I'm happy to do that.
All right.
Not today.
Yeah, not today.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jeffrey, I'll let you get back to your trimming. I appreciate you very much. It's been fun having you on the show. I love your pots, and I'll keep an eye out for you.
Likewise, yeah. I'll have to pick up one of your pots one of these days. And thanks so much for having me.
We'll do a mug swap or something.
Perfect.
Very cool. And thank you, sir. You have a great afternoon.
You too. See ya.
See ya.